Welcome to the singing guitar lesson. We're going to be looking at tabs and sheet music and stuff like that. At this point, you need to own a guitar. You need to be practicing at least 30 minutes a day. Really, to improve, you need an hour a day that you can just set aside. It can be anywhere in your schedule, doesn't really matter, just as long as you're getting alone. No distractions, turn the TV off, turn the phone off. If you're in a relationship, let them know, hey, this is my time to practice on the guitar, and you really just gotta have that as undisturbed time. And I will try and show you as best as I can how to do the different things I'm saying. Okay, so first off, these are just some images I pulled off online to kind of show you. This is how you hold the left arm when you go to do stuff here. Okay. Whatever you're doing, whether you're playing chords or soloing or whatever, your shoulder needs to be relaxed, just like if you're sitting normally. Okay. Now, I know it looks like I'm hunched over in the video. That's because of the angle. I'm not really hunched over. Your shoulder needs to be relaxed. Your back needs to be straight. You need to be sitting up. If you're doing stuff like this, it's going to come across when you're playing. Just like when you're singing, if you smile while you sing, it kind of helps your voice to carry and to really sound happier. The same is true for playing guitar. Your notes will sound different depending on how you're sitting or standing. I know it's popular for when you're wearing a strap on your guitar, for the guitar to hang down way low, but you lose a lot of grip with carrying it so low. So I would encourage you to maybe pop the strap a little bit higher. And if you sit while you play, well, then that kind of resolves itself because your guitar and your knee kind of fit a perfect little angle there. So your left arm is your left shoulder is relaxed. Now your left arm, you're just going to bring it up just like this. Okay. You're not going to bring it like this. You're not going to do that. Keep away from this. That'll just cause carpal tunnel. You're not going to raise your shoulder. You have to relax real consciously. Now, as you first start, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but you'll get the hang of it. So you want to make sure you've got get a good grip on your guitar. Okay, all right. Now, when you go to play the notes themselves, you want to be pushing on the strings with the end of your finger. Do not lay your fingers down like this. That's what new guitar players do. You want to attack the strings. Okay? You really want it to be on, just like that. Okay? When you're soloing, see how I've got control of what I'm doing. The reason why is because I'm attacking the strings correctly. So yeah. See how it's the end of the fingertip that's going. Now you're not going to be able to hit the fingertip every single time because it's going to make you do kind of unnatural things like holding it out so you can see it, but you know it's not going to work. Now you're going to notice that there's going to be this rotation that happens. Okay, when you go up higher, you're going to angle your hand like this. Okay. Then when you're going down, oops, it's hard to do it at this angle, but I'm hoping that you're seeing how my hand switched from here, where it's attacking like this, then gradually your hand shifts, and when you're soloing down here, you kind of do that, okay? Okay, so, and then as far as the back of the finger, it needs to be like this. There needs to be see that triangle there, that naturally forming triangle. That's what you need to see. Like here's when I'm playing chords. See how the thumb right here on the thumb is pushed up against the neck. The wrist is straight, okay? And even when I'm soloing, see how my hand will bend, but it's not like this. Now there are going to be some situations where you're doing a real uncomfortable chord like this. Okay? But if you look, that's the exception, not the rule. shifts. Now that's okay, but if the whole time that you're playing you're real uptight, that's not going to work. Okay, so if you look right here, it's just another image I got offline where it shows how you're attacking the strings. Your thumb is pressed up against the back. There's that natural occurrence there where there's a space. Your hand is not laid down against it. See what I mean? You're not trying to smother the neck like this. It's like this. See, not this. This. There needs to be some space there. And you're supporting yourself with your thumb. Okay, that's incredibly important because if you have poor structure, it's going to prevent you from going faster and from playing cleaner and from playing more. So this is just a basic idea of what sheet music looks like. Okay, it has these notes. These are called notes. These little dots here, and you know what note it is by where they are according to these lines here. Okay. So your fat E string, if you remember from last lesson, that's this one. Okay, the fat E string. To just play it is going to look like that on sheet music, and on tabs it's going to look like that. Now we'll get more to this, so just stick with me here. Okay, that's E F G E F G. Okay, and then you can follow along there, and you can match the two up. So this. Right here, that's your fat E string. The next one is your A string. The next one is your D string. So it's like you're looking at your guitar upside down. That's how tabs work. This is called tabs. And you read them by it's like you're reading them upside down. Take your guitar on your lap and you just lay it down like this. And that's how tabs are. Okay, so that's da 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 da. That's exactly how it is. It's upside down. Okay. So I hope that kind of helps out. And then as far as sheet music, it's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so first off, what kind of notes are going to be how long you hold them out for. This, for instance, there's quarter notes, half notes, all these different things, and that tells you how long to hold it out, how long to hold that note, like or. And then there's going to be things like rest and that kind of stuff. Don't worry about that. We'll get to that later. Up here, over it, it will say if this is actually referring to a higher note, because notes repeat themselves. So like, let's say for instance it's telling you I don't know, C, but it actually wants you to play it up here instead of here. There's going to be notes and stuff up here that will help you to do that. We'll get to that later. Don't really worry about that. I'm just wanting you to be aware of it. This right here is called the treble clef. That means it's basically on certain kinds of instruments use higher notes. Like the guitar uses a treble clef. If you play piano, you're going to have two sets. One that goes up here, and down here there's going to be another set. This is going to be the treble clef for the piano, that's the right hand. Then the left is going to have this other symbol called the bass clef, and that's going to be for your left hand. The guitar doesn't worry about bass clef, it only does treble clef. So that's this. Here next to that will be what's called a time signature. That tells you what beat the song will have. Stuff like that. Now as far as how fast the song is, up here on the top of your sheet, it will say something like adagio or something like that. That will tell you roughly how fast. Or on sometimes it'll tell you how many BPMs, that's beats per minute, which really only helps if you have a metronome or unless you're just a finely tuned machine. So that's how this works. So if you want to hit, goodness sakes, come on, on the A string, the C note, that's that one right there. You know it's right there. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense. Now, when you're playing notes, you want to play them as close to the fret as possible. This metal piece here is the fret. Okay, so if it says to play something on the third, that's that. Okay, let me move over here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, but you don't play it over here. You play it over here. Even when you're doing chords, you get them as close to the frets as possible. Okay. If you go away, you're going to have buzzing issues like that, or sometimes the note will sound distorted and wobbly. So you want to make sure that you hit it with the tips of your fingers. Okay. just so you can see there what I'm doing there. And then you want to play as close to the frets as possible. Okay, so I hope that that makes sense. If it doesn't, you can always ask questions below, okay? Now, for the tabs, now here's exactly what I was talking about, the time signature. This would be 4/4. Now, once again, don't worry about that. That'll be for the future sometime. But for right now, if you just look at this, that tells me what to play. Okay, so you've got 3, 2. So I know chords, so I know that that's a G chord. See, I'm able to follow along with the song by reading what's there. Now, I know that that's a G chord and a C chord. So already, as I'm playing, it's going to help me to play cleaner because of that. Don't worry about that. As you get to know music better, you'll find those little things, and a lot of little solos and stuff are actually just chords taken apart. So don't worry about that. We'll get to that. So that brings us to the first chord. Now, when you're looking up chords and stuff online and whatnot, they use chord charts. That's what this is. That tells you how to play the chord, the C, okay? The C chord. Now, this is different than the note of C because a note is an individual sound. A chord is a series of notes of at least, I think it's at least 2. So, or. See, it's all variations of, well, we'll get to that later. It doesn't matter. But basically, we're going to go back to this. So if you look right here, it has an X. That means you do not play that string. Now, don't worry about how am I going to play without playing that string. There's a few ways. This finger can block that string, okay, like this. So when you're playing this note right here, you can just move it up just a little bit where it blocks it, or you, with your right hand, you can control where you're hitting, and that will do that. I wish I had a pick. Picks are what you need here. Why you would ever record a guitar video without popping out a pick? Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so. But you can just control with your right hand. See? Yeah, that's going to be a little bit difficult if you're playing a live show where the lighting's bad, or you know, where you're just real sweaty and stuff and you're maybe tired. This can be a little more difficult. It's easier if you do that. Now, sometimes you can reach your thumb up and block strings, but that's only really good for certain chords. Like, there's a chord called the D/F sharp, okay? So here's your G. See, I'm using it to play that note. And you can do stuff like that. So, okay, how do you read this? This, you do not play that string. That means you do play this, and this means you do play this, but they're open. That's why there's an O there. It's for open, okay? So that note is going to you're just going to let it ring out. Now these three, this one, and this one, will be played with your fingers. So what you do, it goes left to right. The left is your fat E. This one's your A, D, G, B, and then your skinny E. Now this, if you notice, it has a double line here. That stands for this, your fret. Now if the chord is any higher than, you know, the 5 frets you got here, it'll have a number here. Usually in Roman numerals, like 7 or something, and that will show, okay, this is 7 instead of your 1 fret. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. We'll get to it later. So to read this chord, first up, my E string right here. I'm using my finger. Whoops. Your skinny E string is going to be open, so nothing happens there. The next one is your B string. That's this one right here. I'm going to have my first finger, if you look there, it says 1, my first finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? I'm going to have my first finger there. So far my chord consists of the open E, that right there, don't worry about what note it is. Then your next one is also an open, so right now I have a 3-note chord. But if you look at the sheet, the chord doesn't end there. Let me get my pointer back. Come on, there. So now I need my second finger on the next fret up on the D string. That's this one right here. Okay. Okay. But now we're still not there. Now we need one more. Our third finger needs to go on the next fret over, one more down. Okay. Now you have learned your first chord. That's what it should look like, okay? Now don't worry about the pinky. Sometimes, what do you do with your pinky? Naturally, you're just going to do that. You're going to raise it a little bit like that. But don't worry about that right now. We'll worry about it later. Some chords, for instance, the C major 7, your pinky's going to actually be used. So, but for this one, you just keep it there. So, okay. You've learned your first chord, you know what sheet music is, you know what tabs are. Let's talk about strumming and picking. First off, when you're strumming, you want smooth strumming. Don't worry about patterns yet. You know, trying to strum like in a song, like. Don't worry about that stuff, okay? Just focus on smooth patterns. Now, there's two basic movements for a strum pattern, obviously, down and up. Don't worry about the in-betweens, let's just keep this simple. So what I want you to do is I want you to focus down strum patterns with that C chord. Real smooth. Okay? Now picking consists of using your arm and your wrist. I'm sorry, strumming. Strumming consists of using your arm and your wrist. When you're picking, you want to keep your arm steady and pretty much just focus on your wrist. See what I mean? You want to focus on your wrist for picking, okay? But for strumming, you want to focus your hand and your wrist. I mean, your wrist and your arm. You got to stay loose while you're strumming. That's the trick. Now, when we get to picking, we're going to be talking about the up down, okay? Don't forget that. Remember that up down. But we're not going to look at it just yet. So just focus on single down strum patterns for now. Okay. Don't feel like you have to go fast. What I don't want you doing is I don't want you hitting the strings real hard, and I'm not going to show it because I don't want to mess up the strings on this. But we just you calm down, you know, just smooth, easy. Don't attack the strings and don't swing too wide. Like you'll see some people going real like this. There's no reason to be strumming that wide. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't increase the sound. It doesn't increase the energy of the player. It doesn't do anything. All that it does is it makes you play messy. And it will definitely show, and you'll pop strings more, and you will put more wear and tear on your guitar. There's really no reason to do that. When you're when you're strumming, you want to go real even, okay? Now don't attack it. Don't go down real hard on it. If you look, you want to go with the strings, not at the strings. So, I mean, you also don't want to fling way out when you're strumming. You want to go with the strings. So don't strum out and don't strum in. Strum with the strings. I thought I had this on the next lesson, but I guess I have it here. When you're picking, there's something called alternate picking. Okay, that's where you go down, up, down, up, down, up. So you want your arm to be steady. Remember, your shoulders are relaxed. Your wrist is right here. Now with your wrist, reposition your hand. Okay? Focus on that wrist. You see how the wrist is moving, the arm is staying steady. See, the wrist is moving, the arm is staying steady. And when you're picking, you don't pick way out. People who first start playing guitar, they try to do this. Well, that's way too messy. You need to limit your movement. The less movement, the cleaner the sound. Then you can also go faster when you're not moving. Okay? So I hope that this is making sense. Remember, you can always rewind a video, so don't worry too much about this. If I'm going too fast, pause it and think about what I'm saying. Don't pick out and pick down, up, down, up, down, up. Like this, down. There should be that kind of movement. Once again, it should not be rigid. You don't want to be rigid while you're playing, but it also shouldn't be chaotic. Don't strum and pluck out. I just mentioned this. Pick with your wrist, not your arm. If you're putting your whole arm into picking, you're doing it wrong. I mean, that's just not how people pick. You lack the control. You lack discipline. So we'll look next time at other aspects. But really just focus on these things and you should be good. Now you might say, well, hold on, you didn't show me anything to pick. Pick just the strings. Leave your left arm alone. Practice going down, up and then back down. Okay, so make sure that you're not going real wide. Real even. Okay. I hope this is all making sense. If you have any questions, make sure to leave comments below. I'll answer them as best as I can. Remember, practice, practice, practice. If you are practicing a lot but you're doing it wrong, you're going to regret it later. If you're trying to push yourself too fast and try to progress too quickly, you're not going to get it. You need to be practicing this stuff for weeks before you can actually get into certain things to pick. You need to push yourself and keep moving forward, but also remember that if you don't have the proper control, you can practice a whole bunch, but all you'll be doing is you'll reinstilling yourself to do it wrong. So really make sure that you're taking the time to play it well, and then also that you are actually playing.